I call this meeting of the Hurst-Euless-Bedford Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called, and notice that the meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Tonight, the Board of Trustees is meeting in a called work session board meeting. The board welcomes and values input from the community. A single open forum will be provided during tonight's meeting to allow the public an opportunity to address the board. During this time, individuals may share comments or requests related to both agenda and non-agenda items. Those addressing the board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per meeting. The speaker should identify their name, group affiliation, if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include the charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if a person addressing the board has attempted to resolve a concern informally or through the district's complaint policy. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner and asks that speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during the open forum, please fill out one of the cards located at the table in the entry hall. Dr. Harrington, do you have any comments tonight?
We have school on Wednesday.
That's why we're here.
So here we go.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
You going with that?
Nope, I'm just going with that.
All right. Did anyone have any clarifications?
No, none at this time.
Okay. All right. Are there any cards for open forum? Okay. So that takes us directly to an adjournment to closed session pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, .072 and .074. The board will adjourn into closed session. Okay, the board is reconvening into open session, and we will start with reports and presentations. 6.01 is strategic plan scorecard update. Mrs. Tuttle.
So tonight, we're going to look at employee success is the priority in this update. And our goal, of course, has to do with recruitment and retention. And this specifically talks about employee recruitment. And it's specific to 2.1, which is the district achieving and maintaining a 95% quarterly average fill rate for all positions across the district. And then these are some of the relevant key actions that support this specific goal. And here is our first quarter, which ended on August the 1st. And so you see that we were at 96.40 for our actual, and our target's 95%. So we have met or exceeded this. And this next slide is going to show you the breakdown for each type of position. And so you can see over on the far right corner, that far right column rather, the professionals, technical, paraprofessional, auxiliary teacher, and then our total vacancies. Are there any questions?
On that slide, the first column, that's how many are supposed to.
That's how many.
Not vacancies, because they.
Correct. So the first column.
Right, I'm like, those are both vacancies?
So the first column is actually the allotted on the staffing table. Second column is the vacancies. Third column is going to be the percentage of vacancies, which then makes our fill rate the final column. Great question.
Okay, yeah, because it just has dates, it doesn't have descriptions, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah,
Anyone?
good job.
Thank you. All right, next is 6.02 school libraries updates. Dr. Elledge. Oh, shoot.
Good evening. Always a pleasure to be with y'all. Really quick, this is going to be our third round of purchase requests that we want to go through with you. Just as a quick review, Senate Bill 13 does require that the school district board certify our book request, and so that's what this is going to be. Sorry, tonight. Let me get that out of my way. No, I think I'm okay. But thank you. So this will be our third round, and then we'll just do a quick review of the processes just to be on the safe side. The Senate bill actually said that you guys have additional responsibilities in terms of selection and reconsideration. Parental rights were expanded. And I'm sorry, I hate to throw these out there, but y'all are going to have to approve these purchases. And there are a few on here. I'd actually wanted to bring this a little bit quicker, but we had some last minute delays and adjustments to put in, so we had to wait until now to do it. Just to give you a timeline, so this is day one. This is like kind of ground zero. We will, tomorrow morning, put the list on the website. You will get the list tonight, and we will have 30 days for public comment if we have any questions, concerns. We'll update it as there are things, and then on September 10th, we will basically take everything down. Hopefully we will turn the public comments off, and because we haven't had any. That would be our fervent hope. But we'll update it, and then we will come back and do a request at the next available board meeting, which I believe for us will be September 14th. Questions or concerns? Would you like me to go to the site so you can see where everything is right now?
I think we're used to it by now. Yeah.
The lists aren't there, but they will be there first thing in the morning.
Okay, great.
Any questions, concerns?
Thank you.
The high school list is a little bit shorter this time, but elementary and junior highs are both fairly extensive. A little bit, I guess, maybe kind of close to normal. There's about 600 books all total.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
All right. 7.01 is financial statements for the month of June. Mr. Williams.
Good evening. And yes, we will be looking at the financial statements for the month ending June 30th, 2026. This does fall under our district strategic plan, district priority effectiveness and efficiency, under quality indicator efficient use of district resources. So we'll look at the general fund first. We have a fund balance of $191,833,240. That's represents revenues over expenditures in the amount of $16,248,795. In investment interest through the end of June was at $6,467,180. So doing pretty well there. Total expenditures as of June 30th were at 76.50, so well within our parameters we set. So that fund is performing as expected, doing well. Looking at the general fund expenditure matrix, payroll was at $164,921,279, or 85.5%. Utilities were at $4,531,487, or 2.3%. Instructional supplies were at $2,688,054, or 1.4%, and the other expenditures were at $2,738,586. Child Nutrition Services Fund, we had a fund balance of $9,869,562. That's revenues over expenditures in the amount of $2,550,450. That fund is doing well. Investment interest as of the end of June was at $144,402. Total expenditures as of 6/30 were at 69.54%, so doing well there. That department is operating very well. They actually had their first day back for all their people this morning. Dr. Harrington and I showed up there. Mariella was so excited because they had more people than they've ever had on this first day back, but now we have another problem. We don't have enough parking at the ASF facility, so there was nowhere to park. It was totally full. It's crazy, but it's a good problem. And it doesn't happen too often. But anyway, it was great. They had a ton of people. She was really excited about that, and thanks to HR department for their help with all that. They were a big part of that. She had a job fair, and that garnered a lot of applications. So anyway, a little bit extra on that one. But
So how's she doing on her fund balance right now? Is it getting to the point where she's gonna have to spend some down, or?
yeah, she stays in that area. We just keep trying to keep it. As long as we're moving in the right direction, TDAs, they're okay with that. But we're still in the area where we still need to spend that down. Debt service fund, we had a fund balance of $77,594,492. That's revenues over expenditures in the amount of $52,540,273. Investment interest in that fund was at $1,710,006. Of course, this time of year, we're at the very end of the fiscal year, so we're not collecting much in tax revenue at all. But we did make our debt service payment was due on August 14th, but we've actually already made that because that is one thing you do not want to be late on. And we make it a few days ahead of time just to make sure we're covered. And we also contact Amity Bank to make them clarify that they have received it, and they have. So we're good there. Anyway, there's your numbers on debt service for the year. So that fund is good. Tuition-based pre-K fund, we're fund balance of $442,012. That's revenues over expenditures in the amount of $112,766. As of 6/30, we were at 38.14%, which doesn't sound like we've spent enough, but it's just the way that fund works out. It will spend out more towards the end as we close out the year. So, but still be within our parameters. So, performing as expected. Special revenue funds. Those are, of course, those are our state and federal funds, and as of the end of June, they were at 43.23%. And like I say, with the lag in funding, that fund tends to look like we're not spending as much either, but we just haven't got reimbursed for all those funds yet. But those funds are performing as expected also. Campus activity funds, we had a fund balance of $4,207,312. That's revenues over expenditures in the amount of $772,465. Revenues were at $3.1 million, while expenditures were at $2.4 million for this reporting period. But those funds are performing as expected also. Bond fund, we are down to $313,834,391 because, as you know, we're doing a little bit of construction, so we're spending down those funds pretty quick, writing out some pretty big checks to jurists over the summer. Interest on those funds as of this reporting period, we're at $10,520,079, so we're making really good interest return on our funds there. And as Mr. Williford is here, but we will, as I've said throughout the year, and we've kind of moved this around, but now we're kind of looking at end of this year, December, first part of early next year, and looking at selling the remainder of those, the $397.3 million of approved but unissued bonds. So, but that fund is doing well also. In our locally defined capital projects fund, we have a fund balance of $29,828,820. That represents expenditures over revenues in the amount of $700,759. And as I said, we haven't really added any new big projects to that in a while, so we're just kind of finishing out things that just little things, finishing up stuff, tagging along, more buses, which probably going to bring you some more buses. Just give you kind of a heads up, we're trying to catch up on this bus thing. So we'll be looking at doing some more of that here soon. So anyway, that should be it. Any questions?
It doesn't look so like you're ready.
All right.
Thank you. Next up is Mr. Curbo, and first is the extension of RFP 23-118B for event planning services.
Good evening, board members. Pleasure to be here again tonight. This first one is an extension of an existing agreement. This is I believe it's the second of 3 extensions available for event planning services. And we've got about 8 to 10 folks contracted under there that help us with all of our events.
Questions? Okay, 7.03 is extension of RFP for general retail merchandise, groceries, and supplies.
This too is the second of 4 extension options, and this is our most flexible contract. We can buy from a number of vendors. Most of them are local, not all, but most of them are local, and gives us a lot of flexibility for acquiring those goods that we need to continue our instructional effort.
Questions? Okay, 7.04, extension of RFP for printing services.
And that too is an extension. This is the second of 3 extension options that are available to us, and that's for any kind of ancillary printing services such as business cards, envelopes. We don't use much in the way of stationery anymore, but that would fall under this agreement.
Okay. Questions? Okay. 7.05 is extension of RFP for property insurance.
Okay, this is very good news. We're in a favorable insurance market, and last year trustees approved a new bid for property insurance, and the premium came in at $2.6 million, which was actually a little bit of a reduction from the prior year. So we had the opportunity to increase our loss limit from $300 million to $400 million. And the pricing here came in from our multiple layered coverage providers or carriers. And if we were to renew at our existing coverage limit of $400 million, the rate would be 1.944291, which is $661,721, less than last year's rate. We've also sought coverage for increments of 100 million, so we have pricing available for you to look at and consider in 500 million, 600 million, and 700 million. If we were to renew at 700 million, the premium would be $2,093,759, which is still a savings of $531,684 from the previous year. Now, the advantage that gives us is we get to increase our loss limit, our coverage amount. And with the imminent completion of the projects that we have underway, that's going to be very important to us because our total insured value is going to increase considerably. So that's our recommendation is for 700 million, to renew at 700 million. But I want to recognize we have our broker, Allison Nixon, with Rochard, Smith, and Barton, and Hector Cornea in our risk and insurance category. Worked hard on getting this pricing together for us, so they're to be thanked for their efforts.
Yes, thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. That takes us to 7.06 is being pulled. We know that there's been a lot of questions, and so what my suggestion tonight is to funnel all those questions through Joe and Dobie, and we will get those all answered and bring this back when everybody is satisfied with those answers.
Yeah, if everyone can give me their questions. We had multiple questions, and so what I want to do is gather those questions and then take the time to answer them instead of trying to just answer them quickly off the cuff. Let's make sure we take some time, really look into that, but be as detailed as you can be with your questions. Send those to me, and then we will come forward, probably either a Friday update or, if we need to, come to a future meeting with all of those answers at a deeper level.
Yes. Does anybody have one now? Okay. Very good.
Well, not a question necessarily. I'm glad it's being pulled because I'm not in favor of the way it's presented tonight. But sometimes things get pulled and then they never to be heard from again. Other times they get pulled and they get brought back the exact same way. Mm-hmm. It probably needs to be something in the middle. But my suggestion would be to go back and look at the 2021 VLK study and evaluate all of the information that we compiled and why we weren't actionable on 90% of it. And look at the scope of that VLK study and compare it to the scope of what Huckabee is providing. Because my sense is we're gathering far too much information than we would possibly ever move on. The scope for each campus is way too broad that we're compiling information that we wouldn't do anything with because we couldn't possibly have the amount of money to do with what is being recommended. And that we really have a focused effort on what do we really need to know, and then make that the scope of what Huckabee's asked to do.
Good point.
But I will say this, so what we'll do is we will make sure this will come back to y'all so that we make sure we've answered the questions, and then we can hear your feedback, because we can't before we can bring this back. So we've got to hear that from y'all, make sure that we have answered the questions correctly, and then we can make sure that we are then building the proposal to bring back.
Part of what is going to facilitate discussion and questions is a presentation, because there's not a presentation connected to this. Mm-hmm. There's only a proposal. So part of it we need to hear from you and the rest of the administration is, what is the goal with this? What are we trying to accomplish? Mm-hmm. Because we talked about this at the facilities meeting, so this isn't necessarily new, but what is the goal? Because if the goal is to look at the next bond, we're premature in the position we are right now for the bond package that's currently being implemented, because we're not going to be able to say 4 years from now, this is what we want to go and consider for the bond, and we're going to go back and point to this Huckabee study from 2026, because the first thing somebody's going to tell us is, well, we've got to update that study. So what useful information are we going to be able to get, and is this the right time to do it? And I think to facilitate discussion and questions from us is we need to know why we're doing this and what the goal is.
And also, is there another way to, if we're doing it because we need to have, a starting point of information about every facility, is there a way to do that in a different capacity?
Yeah, because, the proposal is let's do a drainage study for all of the campuses. Well, let's ask our principals, are you having a drainage issue anywhere on your campus that we can address? If not, we don't need to do a drainage study.
Or maybe not even the principals, but if we put somebody from, our maintenance department to, do it, yes. But again, these are all things that we would need as part of the presentation and, have a very clear understanding. Okay. So that takes us to our action items, and we will start with 8.01, consider approval of donations for the August regular board meeting. Is there a motion?
I move the board approve the August 2026 donations as presented.
There's a motion and a second to approve the August 2026 donations as presented. Please vote. Okay.
Can you show my hand, please?
Yes. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, motion passes. 8.02 is consider approval of notice of public meeting to discuss budget and proposed tax rate. Mr. Williams.
Okay, we are at that time of year. We've worked on the budget since January, and we've got it where we need it, balanced budget. But the first step to the approval process is publishing this notice, required notice that will go in the newspaper. So that I've presented that to you with the rates we are proposing, which once we publish this, we cannot adopt a tax rate any higher than what this is. We can adopt one lower if we choose to, but cannot adopt anything any higher than that.
And this is not news to the board. We've had our budget meetings, and we've had
Yes.
lots of updates through our Friday updates and many other things. So are there any questions? Is there a motion?
This will go in Thursday's paper, I believe.
I move that the board approve the notice of public meeting to discuss budget and proposed tax rate for 2026-2027 as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the notice of public meeting to discuss budget and proposed tax rate for 2026-2027 as presented. Please vote. And that motion carries. So I need to read this little public statement here. A public hearing and discussion on the budget and tax rate will be held on August 24th, 2026. Notice of the public hearing will be submitted to the newspaper for publication on Thursday, August 13th, 2026. Budget adoption and setting of the tax rate are scheduled to follow the public hearing and discussion at the board meeting on August 24th, 2026. Okay, that takes us to 8.03, consider approval of order authorizing insurance of HBISD tax refunding bonds.
Yes. So in conjunction with setting our tax rate, our INS tax rate in particular, and doing all that, we've actually we've got some bonds that have become due or that are refundable. So I've got Mr. Williford here, George Williford with Hilltop Security. He's going to talk you through this, but this, there's kind of two-part where it's interest savings, of course, is one thing with refunding bonds, but this also helps us with the new, or the funding that the state is providing, the additional state aid for homestead exemption, or as we school people say, the ASAHI funding, the acronym. But it enables us to capitalize on that, to be able to capture that, because I think we've got to get that done before the end of August, right?
Before the tax rate.
Before the tax rate's set. So that makes these bonds will be eligible for that additional state aid. So it enables us to capture some funds there from the state and
Okay.
helps us to maintain our level INS rate that we've advertised to our voters before we went out for the November bond. But I'll let Mr. Williford explain all that, and you can ask him questions, or I'll be happy to answer questions too if you need to.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mr. Williford.
President Cowell, members of the board, it's good to be back. Dr. Harrington. As Dobie indicated, this is all related to setting the INS tax rate for the upcoming year. Has nothing at this point to do with the outstanding authorization that's remaining from the last election and so on. And in the past, or the past few years, HEB, like other districts, if values increased and they wanted to keep their INS rate manageable, and they were working to manage that, then originally you could just set the rate and move on down the road. The last couple of years, they've required, or bond attorneys have advised, well, a resolution expressing that you're going to use any excess collections toward defeasance or anything would be required. Well, last session of the legislature, they formalized that even more so. It's Senate Bill 1453. And so it says that if a district's going to set a tax rate in excess of what's just outright required for scheduled debt service, there's a process they have to go through. And then you could use excess for defeasance or whatever. In this case, there will be debt service in place. That's the whole goal of this, to justify the tax rate. And like Dobie said, it's, for one, to enable you to set the tax rate accordingly, and secondly, try to capture, that's one more acronym, throw out there, ASAHI, the state aid for hold harmless on homestead exemptions and so on. There's a new tranche, and the only way you can get that is if you actually have debt service justifying the tax rate for this upcoming year. So the first page, and you may have seen this in your packages, hopefully, but when we started the analysis last week or so, getting more definitive, we were using the net taxable value that Tarrant County Appraisal District had given of $19.786 million and a 97% collection. And I will mention, when we initially started the analysis, the assumed taxable value was quite a bit higher than this. $20.5 billion was what we were assuming. So we saw that there was even potentially a larger gap that needed to be addressed. Since then, and when the truth in taxation was worked, we need to refine this a little more. That value as a basis will probably come down based on the fact that we're going to net out some of the frozen loss and get to more or less what was reported in the truth or taxation numbers. But at any rate, based on that, the calculated rate would have been a little under 30 cents, and you can see 56.8 billion would have been the levy. At 35 cents, at that 19.7 and the 97%, that would produce about 67. So the levy and hopefully collection difference about 10.3 in this case. This is the real kind of crux of why the refunding is needed and what's done. If you look on the box on the right, left-hand side, that's if nothing's done, and in that case, you'd set the rate at just below 30 cents. You'd be bringing in roughly that 56.8. You'd get 3,000,005 or 54,000 roughly calculated with SAHI money. That's in that middle box. But if you move to the right-hand side with the 35-cent tax rate, and if the debt service, everything's in place, justify that. If you'll see below, I don't know if this that did not work. I was going to point at it for you. Okay. But there's a 3.347 million number, and it's labeled Asahi 4. That's the target. That's what we're trying to enable the district to receive. So we're trying to get the debt service up and have a levy that matches that to enable you to qualify. Because if it's not in line, they will disqualify and you won't receive that, or at least all of it. So in the red, you'll see we're trying to target roughly with some amount that'll have to be contributed for cost of issuance, 13.7 million or 13.8 million between those two red numbers. And that's in this case, like I said, with the 19.786 million values that we were using. To refund and produce that, what we're targeting are the final three maturities of the Series 17B issue. And you can see that's the 13.725. Those are at 4%. If we refund those, move that debt service up, you can see in column D, it's where it's net of $13.7 million. That does the justification for this year and so on. But what it also does, like Dobie said, is it's eliminated 13.725 of principal in the out years that you otherwise would be paying. So you can see that it would reduce overall future debt service by 18.2 million. If you subtract the 13.7, what that means is that $4.5 million number you see at the bottom of that column, that's the net interest savings that the district would be realizing at the same time by accelerating that principal. So it's to achieve those savings, and that's kind of a byproduct because that wasn't the original target of this, justify setting the tax rate, and to enable the district to be in a position to receive that Asahi number 4, somewhere over $3 million. And like I said, we worked with Dobie and Stephen Friday and today. That 13.7 may come down somewhat because, like I said, that we're looking at a lower value net of frozen. But the idea and the target is to balance everything out. The goal, time-wise, is potentially later this week, but more likely next Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, be in a position to allow Jeffries, who's the underwriter for the issue, to price market the bonds. It's literally a single maturity, like a note that was being placed. And so long as it's sold before you set your tax rate, everything's in order to justify the rate. So that would mean when you come back August 24th, you'd have that in place so you could set your INS rate accordingly. But with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Anyone have questions?
And I will mention the order that was prepared by McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton, so you have that in front of you to consider.
This really helped me to understand it better.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approve to adopt an order authorizing the issuance and sale of Hurst-Euless-Bedford Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bonds, Series 2026.
There's a motion and a second to approve an order authorizing the issuance and sale of Hurst-Euless-Bedford Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bonds, Series 2026. Please vote. That motion carries. 8.04 is consider approval of an update to the staffing table. Mrs. Tuttle.
We're coming to you this evening to request a .5 unit, a paraprofessional unit at the Collegiate Academy to add to an existing .5 unit. This was our plan all along, was to start with the 50% last year and then add 50% to it so they would have a full-time paraprofessional unit. Any questions?
great to see that program
It is.
growing. Is there a motion?
I move the board approve the update to the 2026, 2027 staffing table as submitted.
There's a motion and a second to approve the update to the 2026, 2027 staffing table as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. 8.05 is being removed tonight. We don't have the full details that we thought we would have at this point, so we will bring that back at a later date.
Just so you know, we're not anticipating any issues. We're just waiting on the final.
All right, are there any board members that would like to request an item to be placed on a future board agenda? All right, that takes us to the activity chart. Mrs. Ewart, if you could pass that back. I think we have everything covered. Yeah, we're looking good, guys. I know it's a busy time. Okay, so we have Goal Team 1 update. Is that where I'm at? Yep. Revisions to board operating procedures. This is, oh gosh, I have to remember what this is. Yeah, this is some updates we made to just details about the travel within the board operating procedures. And we forgot to bring it to have it voted on, so that's why we're bringing it now. I don't remember anything earth-shattering, just cleaning up some of the language.
Yeah, and part of it is, working with Ty to align it with what actually happens.
Yeah.
And so this is more or less adopting the procedure that's in place and making sure that that's written down somewhere. And that's helpful to you, right, Ty? Yeah.
Any questions?
I had one question about it was kind of a wording thing, I think. I'm trying to find it, though. Yeah, like in addendum E, it had something about where it referenced back to D. I can't find it. Yeah, so CD, Board Budget 3, where it says board member chooses to attend an event costing above $500 and support staff or students, the travel must be approved by the board. And it says CD, Board Budget 3. But then when you go look at D, Board Budget 3, if I can find that. Anybody know what page the board budget's on?
Board budget is on page 11.
Okay, I don't see it. Okay, so it's not the same page numbers.
Oh, sorry.
So when you look at D3, so it says any additional training opportunity requiring travel or registration costs above 500 must be approved by the board 1 month prior to conference deadlines. So that doesn't have anything to do with supporting students. It seems like 3 could be added to say any additional training opportunities requiring travel or opportunities to support students or staff costing over $500. Seems like it could be combined into one instead of having them in 2 separate places and one pointing back to the other when it doesn't really make sense that it points back to the other.
So any additional training opportunity, any additional training, I'm trying to combine that. Any additional, could we just say any additional travel?
And,
Take
I
out the
mean,
word training opportunity?
I think it's okay to put some allowable reasons to travel, but whether it's traveling for, I don't know, even if you want to put it on district business or something like that, but
Any additional travel for training or
or the
student
of
support
support of students or
requiring travel?
staff requires board approval.
So any additional travel for training or student support requiring travel or registration costs above 500.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that can be wordsmithed, but that's the general idea.
Did anyone write that down, or do you want me to say it again?
I'm not sure. Are we doing it where addendum E is at, or are we doing it?
We're doing it on number 3 under D, board budget.
I don't think we need that line in addendum E if it's already in. If it's already on in the board budget.
We're getting it. Yeah. It's page 11 on this document.
D3 needs to say, can you say it again?
Control plus will make it bigger.
Huh? Yes. Any additional travel for training or student support requiring travel or registration costs above $500 must be approved by the board 1 month prior to conference deadline. Okay. Any additional travel for training or student support requiring travel or registration costs you could say conference/event deadline there, because if we were traveling for student support, it wouldn't be a conference, it would be an event.
Yeah.
Conference/event.
And the other one says student or staff supports. I don't know what would fall under staff, but if you had someone winning Teacher of the Year and we wanted to go or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So with that change, does anybody else have anything else?
I had something else that I wanted to discuss. It doesn't really have to do with these changes, but it does have to do with board operating procedures. You can tell me if you want to do it now or after the vote, or
Let's do it after we vote on this, and then you can bring that up because Chris and I can take it back to the next time we meet.
okay.
Well, I mean, or we could just add it to the revision.
Oh, this
now.
isn't a vote?
Well, it's probably going to take some thought.
Oh, okay. Well, we're voting on it on this August 24th, so we'll fix the.
Yeah.
Yep, and then what else?
So I've always thought it was kind of strange, but it just doesn't come up very often because we've had long board presidential runs. But it's only happened 3 times, I guess, now, since I've been on board. But the fact that we change board presidents like right before graduation, it seems like we should, I thought it was just weird to me, but then another administrator brought it up to me that he thought it was weird too. But it seems like we should look at changing how our board officers serve to more match the school year. Because, Julie did a great job at convocation, getting the troops all ready to go out. So I think she should also be president when it comes time for graduation. I don't think that you should have that change. Plus, I think it causes a lot of issues with printing and stuff like that. People, we put out the flyers for graduation, and they always have the wrong names on them because we just changed presidents if that happened. And it also causes an issue because we're changing presidents at the beginning of a meeting that's already been planned by a different president. And so you're stepping into a seat, and you haven't had the meetings with the superintendent. You don't really know at the same level of what's going on. So I don't know exactly how we do it. I don't know if we, after an election or after an election day, whenever we would normally pick a new slate of officers, if we do that maybe at the end of that meeting, and then that slate of officers takes over at the beginning of the next meeting, like right after graduation, or how we would do it. It would only really be a problem changing that if the board president was no longer on the board. If they, if the sitting board president didn't run for reelection or got voted out, then they wouldn't be there at the beginning of that meeting. So that's the thing that could
Yeah, I
cause
think
an
that's
issue.
why it's been set up to be done at that time of year.
I mean, and that part makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense that, first of all, I think if you're board president or board officer at convocation, you should also be at graduation. You should cover the whole school year. But on the other hand, when you set someone in the board president's seat and they haven't had the meeting with the superintendent and they haven't had that time to get ready for that meeting, it kind of puts the whole board at a disadvantage, I think. So that's why I think it's something to think about, and exactly how it would change, I'm not sure, but, I think there's a way to probably do it.
I got several calls about we have one president in the program, but it's a new president at graduation. Yeah. And so it really helps both high schools in enough time to get the correct name on the program. And, once, like Matt this year, he'd be the president of the program, but you're the president, so that's the way I think it should be.
What I'd like to do is let Chris and I take this back to our committee, but I'd like to do a little bit of research and understand what other districts are doing, and if there's anyone making that change at a different time of year than what we're doing, and if so, what does that look like? So if you guys wouldn't mind us taking a little bit of time to do this.
Yeah, it's not something I think we should I think you have to be thinking about timing and schedules and all that kind of
No,
stuff.
but I think you're right. I think it's an issue. We just got to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
With the election date
Yeah.
in conjunction with where graduation is, and there's got to be a fix. But I think it's an issue, so let's figure out how to fix it.
Yeah, but if it's an issue for us, it's probably an issue for others, so let's figure out how everyone else is doing it. Okay, good.
Thank you,
for
ma'am.
bringing it up. Okay. Oh, sorry, I got off my... All right, we do not need a second closed session. I'm confused because all that, okay. So I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
We have to say that level 3 is not being done tonight since it was on the agenda.
Yeah, there was a level 3 grievance scheduled on the agenda. That is being postponed for now. So that takes us to adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned.